Hey Slowflake, this is Viking Boy Billy, and this is my response to your big list of suggestions for Generation 6 battle mechanics. I can't leave a comment because you blocked me from your channel, so I have to make a video response here. Now, a lot of the stuff you said I agree with, and I'm going to just address the few things that I think could be different. Now, the first on the list is the double kick, double hit, dual chop. You boosted them each to 40 power, but since Bone Meringue and Gear Grind are both 50 power, why not go all the way and boost them up to 52? I don't think it would hurt that much. And next on the list is Twin Needle. Before I watched your video, I didn't even know that Twin Needle had a poison chance to it. But yeah, I think you could do the same and make that equal to Bone Meringue and Gear Grind as well. It's not even toxic poisoning, so it wouldn't make it godly by any means. And speak of the devil, it's Bone Meringue and Gear Grind. Now, my feeling when I saw that, now this is the first one that really irked me, is my feelings about this is, between the accuracy and the power boost, I think you could do one of those two things, but making them both 60 power and 100 accuracy seems like a little too much. Like, it makes Bone Meringue instantly superior to Earthquake if you do that. Then again, so would having 50 power and 100 accuracy. But since only Marowak gets it, and it has the sub-breaking potential, I think it's acceptable the way it is now. And Gear Grinds, you gotta keep in mind that, what's that gear Pokemon's name? It's a Kling Clang. You gotta keep in mind that Kling Clang also has that speed and attack boosting move, so like that combined with a 60 power, 100 accuracy, double hitting physical move, that might be too much as well. Now here comes the Q-Ram move pool. Now, I understand that vanilla Q-Ram is clearly inferior to black Q-Ram and white Q-Ram, and I thought letting both the signature moves pass down was kinda something neat to give it a boost, but it kind of negates the whole point of it when black and white Q-Ram are still able to have both the moves as well, doesn't it? But I can't really think of a way to fix that, since if they forgot the move when it transforms into it, then vanilla Q-Ram couldn't have both anyway. But here's the thing, with vanilla Q-Ram, there might be an element of surprise if it could only have one of those two moves. So, yeah, I think the normal Q-Ram could have one of those two moves, but Black and white QRM, they should only have their own signature move. I think it's kind of too much to give them both the other one's signature move. Oh, except Bolt Strike and Blue Flare. And I'll be honest, I don't really do Ubers at all, so I don't even know what those moves do. But Fusion Bolt and Fusion Flare are obviously an electric and fire thing. So I think black QRM should only have the electric things, and white QRM should only have the fire things. And, you know, with Rotom, it's not like... Now, at the same time, it's not like Rotom can, like, have its moves from its other forms passed down to it either. But that might be kind of a cool idea. It's kind of a shame. I think its other forms should have a bigger move pool than just that one signature move, too. I mean, it could learn more than one move and forget more than one move at the same time, right? But I'm rambling. Let's get to the next point. Now this is the one that made me think, what in the name of Odin are you thinking? This is the weirdest and most nonsensical thing I've ever seen suggested by you. I sort of understand Steel, but Poison's super effective against Dragon? I don't really see it. And you know, I think all of Game Freak's type matchups make some logical sense when you really think about it. Not all of them are just balancing things, like take the weird ones, like Psychic. Why is it weak to Bug? Well, Ghost and Dark are sort of things that people are afraid of, and bugs are scary things too. And since Psychic is sort of like the power of the mind, fear weakens the mind, so that's why those scary things are super effective against it. And why it's super effective against Poison is because I think Psychics can be healers, so they eliminate poison in their bodies to heal themselves. And some of Dark's things, like Bug and Fighting. Okay, I admit I don't really understand why it's weak to Bug, but Fighting... I guess that is more or less a balancing thing. But I guess what they were going for is, like, Fighting is like the force of good, and Dark is like, are like these sniveling cowards that are afraid of fighting, I guess. And anyway, I think the type chart is fine the way it is, but the thing that really bothered me is there's so much stuff that could be weak to poison that makes more sense. Like The three I can think of is bug, fighting, and water. Like, those three should be weak against poison, not steel and dragon. And the thing about steel is why poison doesn't affect steel is because you can keep chemicals inside of clear vials and it doesn't eat through them. So that's their logic behind poison not affecting steel. And this sheer force elemental fang suggestion. Now, there actually is one other move that has more than one added effect, and it's been around since Gen 1. It's Try Attack, and that actually has 3 added effects. So, what would that do? Apply to it 3 times? It's already kind of a powerful move, and in the hands of something like Porygon Z, that power would be deadly. But then Porygon Z doesn't even have sheer force. It's kind of interesting. I don't think anything with sheer force gets Try Attack, but it's kind of interesting to think about, isn't it? I think the Elemental Fangs should just have a higher base power. I mean, those moves are really kinda too weak. And most of the things that get use out of them don't even have sheer force. Like Mamoswine, like its best ice move is Icicle Crash through breeding, but if you had it in Gen 4, then its best ice move is Ice Fang, and that's the only thing you could get out of it from a heart scale. So I think they just need a little bit higher base power. Moody. Your suggestion is an improvement, but I think making it only happen 50% of the time with only one stage is still making it a little bit too underpowered at that point. I think it's safe to make it happen at the end of every turn with a random stat, since speed boosts happens at the end of every turn, but you reliably know that it's speed, and this one would just be random. Or alternatively, just lower one stat by 50 and raise another by 50. That could work too. Just lowering one by 50 and raising another by 100 is ridiculously broken. It should just either have both of those be 50 or drop the lowering of a stat and make raising 150. And now let's get down to the changes I want to make. You're reading that right. The number one thing that I want to change to the metagame is remove the ability Levitate. Now that might sound insane, but my suggestion is to just make airborne Pokemon have that as their own attribute, not for that to be an ability, because it kind of doesn't make sense to use skill swap and they're suddenly not floating anymore and the other one is. And it's just like there's so much stuff about it that's unfair and doesn't make sense. Like Magnezone isn't floating because it doesn't have levitate. That's bullcrap. And if it uses Magnet Rise, like the text will lead you to believe that it replaces its ability with levitate, but no, it still has its other ability. If it has Magnet Pull, that other Pokemon is still trapped while the Magnet Rise is lifting it off the ground. So that's proof right there that it doesn't have to be an ability. Now, on the status screen, there could be like a little mark that tells you whether it's floating in the air or it's on the ground. And that right there would be enough to get rid of levitate and give all those Pokemon that are stuck with levitate like different abilities to choose from and still be levitating. And the only Pokemon I could think of that would be breaking it would be Bronzong. Like Bronzong as it is, you could choose between levitate and heat proof, but if levitating is just a property, then it would both be levitating and have heat proof. So that gives it no weaknesses, and it's insanely bulky as it is. So that one Pokemon would be broken by it, but I think everything else really needs it. So I'm not sure what to suggest doing about Bronzong's case about that. Maybe keep levitate as an ability, but give it only to Bronzong and have all the others be a property. So Bronzong might be that one weird case where it could either have a heat resistance or a ground resistance. And maybe change heat proof to be an immunity to fire, since the name heat proof suggests it would be an immunity, not just cutting the damage in half. So if both of those are even, then it makes heat proof much more viable and not just something as a surprise, it's not levitating. And Pokemon I could think of that would suggest from being airborne a property instead of the one ability that it's stuck with is Flygon, for one, since like Trapinch has Arena Trap, which is a really good ability, but then when it evolves, it has to get changed to Levitate. And it kind of doesn't make sense that it can learn to dig and be levitating underground and be immune to Earthquake while it's underground. That's pretty weird. I think it could be hovering and have Arena Trap. Because if Flygon has Arena Trap, it could suddenly be good competition against Garchomp. And I already mentioned Magnezone, and then there's stuff like Cryogonal and Claydol and let's see, glalie. Like, it doesn't have levitate already, but it should. And if it has floating as a property, then it could still have its abilities and be immune to ground. And there's lots more, but I won't go through the whole list. And this next idea I have isn't quite a change to the current mechanics, but, well, a new one altogether. It's a new weather condition that I call eclipse. And what it does is what it sounds like. It blocks out the sun and makes everything dark. Now, I'm not entirely certain what effects it should have on the field, but, you know, since solar eclipses are something that can happen, why not add it in Pokemon? And off the top of my head, it could maybe affect accuracies, since it makes things dark. But, you know, since people complain about luck all the time, maybe not go that far with it. But, you know, just the basic thing you could do with it is make it boost dark moves by 50% and weaken psychic moves by 50%. And maybe do the same with ghost and fighting as well. And two moves I can think of it affecting would be Morning Sun and Moonlight. And, like, as you would guess, like, Morning Sun would be a full heal in sunlight and only a quarter heal in the eclipse. And Moonlight would be only 25% in sun and a full heal during the eclipse. And maybe stuff like Nightshade and Solar Beam and things like that could be affected by it as well. But I don't know, it's just an idea that could be built upon that I doubt they're ever going to put in the game. But it's just something I wanted to share. And one last thing. More Hello Kitty LPs, please.